that was a little scary, trying to work out of my garage, having a crew, but the money was good. I mean, we would have made really good money with that solution just because of the higher ticket items to kind of sell. But it just...
When I met Troy, my glass ceiling was broken to, I could do a lot more than what I'm doing now. Well, let me look into franchise. What is it really all about? And then that's when I found you. And it literally hit me one day, and I said, I've got it. Now, I was still working. I'll just quit my job, which I've been wanting to do anyway. And then that's an inactive 401k that I can use. And so we just rolled that over, and so that is our funding the business right now, and we don't have an SBA loan to worry about.
Welcome to the Zero to Profitable Franchise Podcast, the best place for you to come to figure out the right franchise to buy and how to get and stay profitable. My name is Tarek Johnson, and I've bought, grown, and sold multiple franchises and got myself free from corporate America, and now I'm on a mission to help you do that too. Here you'll find some of the most in-depth profitable franchise secrets, tangible strategies, and specific mindsets to help you create your dream life through franchising. All right, welcome everyone to another podcast. I'm here with Troy and Nancy, and it's good to have you guys. Thanks so much for making time. And you guys just launched. I'm sure you're slammed. So,
Oh, yeah.
We're excited.
Yeah, awesome. So I'd love just to start out, just tell us, just kind of a little short bio on kind of, who you guys are, what business, you got in, and just kind of what you're doing now, and then we'll take that thread and run.
Well, I've been a nurse for 30 years, and I started researching franchises. I have entrepreneurship in my family, but never really thought that, I could get to that. And I found Tariq online and just started listening to him, and then turned that one over to Troy, and we just joined in and just took it full on, step by step, and followed Tariq's amazing team. They gave us some great opportunities that we actually had a hard time deciding there for a little while, and we fortunately settled on assisting hands, a home care, in-home, non-medical, and we've just jumped in with both feet. It's an amazing franchise. The support that we have gotten developing this whole thing, I could never have done this on my own, let alone without the support of Tariq, all his information on how to do the training. We went to Discovery Day, and we actually went to the CEO's home. His wife cooked us dinner, and then took us out horseback riding on his horses. And so it was kind of a, do we fit in with his team? And is this, a good fit for us as well? So it was perfect the night before Discovery Day, and had a great Discovery Day. And we signed on, and they have this beautiful little checklist, because I am a checklist kind of person. And it was, what to do each week, starting at like week 12, do this, do week 11, do this, week, 10, all the way down to opening day. And we have an area rep that's really close, that's in Austin. We're in San Antonio. And so she's been an amazing help. She meets with us every week and makes sure that we're on track. And again, we were way ahead of schedule for a while. And then they kept saying, "Oh, you've got a month. You'll be fine. You've got a month. You'll be fine." And we're like, no. But as far as, like renting getting the lease and everything in place, Tariq, your educational videos on the interpreting all the language of the lease was very helpful. Yeah,
I
so
think
and
that's
then
it. You said bio? You wanted to bio? There's the whole rundown.
Yeah. No, that was a perfect rundown of kind of where you are and like just kind of synopsis of the journey. And it's pronounced Tarek, by the way. Tarek.
Sorry.
sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. It happens all the time. Yeah, that's right. I do remember you guys were it was between, was it 5-Star Bath and Assisting Hands? Is that who it was?
Yep.
Yes.
I remember
Exactly.
those
Yep.
conversations on the weekly calls, and there was a point where you guys were leaning towards 5-Star, weren't you?
Yeah, we were. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's dive into that first. So what was that like? Because I have said many times to people that, you know, at some point in the process, you know, with the way that our kind of process works, it's not uncommon for you to then be stuck and torn between two different opportunities. Like, oh wow, I could kind of see us going with both of these. So tell me, like, let's unpack that process a little bit. What was the part that kind of you were stuck in, and then how did you eventually like decide that, okay, we're going to go with Assisting Hands, and that's where we feel like most comfortable like taking our future for the next, 10 years or potentially more?
Yeah. I think working with Kevin, was it Kevin that we were working with? But he gave us the initial list rundown based on our what we would fit good with. And we ran through the 10, talked to each one of them, got all the way down to the last two. So it was the 5-Star Bass Solution and Assisting Hands. But we were kind of stuck a little bit back and forth. Do we chase? And we remember earlier in your videos talking about like don't go after your first one, or don't go after the one where you feel safe with. Kind of challenge yourself with other ideas, and that's what we did. So 5-Star was more of that other one. I don't know anything about bass. I don't know anything about. I'm not even a handyman. I hire people for that. So that was a little scary trying to work out of my garage, having a crew, but the money was good. I mean, we would have made really good money with that solution just because the higher ticket items to kind of sell. But it just wasn't touching us. It just wasn't there. It's not like something that we had a passion in that we could see just spending the next 10 years just kind of developing and growing and just being a part of that. And the tangibles are you get money, we make a business, and we become profitable. But with Assisting Hands, when we finally decided what that was, Assisting Hands, it was just more. There's a lot of intangibles that you receive also. It's not just about being a profit. It's also you kind of see with families, work with families, see loved ones kind of grow and not have to go to a nursing home. So stuff like that was another price tag you couldn't put on it. And that's just kind of where our passions kind of drove us to just let's go Assisting Hands.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. It's definitely important to feel connected to whatever the business that you're doing. I think for most personalities, there's some people where they're like, I don't care. I can do whatever makes me the most money. I think they say that, and then as they get closer down the line, the reality of it sets in, and kind of like what you experience really, which is like, we really want to choose something that we feel like we have a passion and connection, overall to what it is that we're doing. I'm curious, what triggered you guys to start looking into kind of entrepreneurship and then like, franchises specifically? Like what was kind of going on in your life and your mind? Because it's a major decision and change to go down.
I had friends of the family that actually owned a franchise. It was Church's Chicken. And I always thought that was interesting, and they lived a really nice lifestyle. And so you can make that much money off of Church's Fried Chicken, really? Like whenever we had a party, they were the one that brought the chicken. Um, so that was the extent of my franchise experience, and it just made me curious. And like I said, when I met Troy, my glass ceiling was broken to I could do a lot more than what I'm doing now. Well, let me look into franchise. What is it really all about? And then that's when I found you.
So our team have looked into a few hundred franchises and put together a list of 5 low-cost franchises that all make $1 million or more and that have a proven track record of both happy and profitable franchisees. So if you have a net worth of at least $150,000 and you want to see if the territory that you want is still available for any of these franchises, then you can go to franchiseempire.com/check territory. All right, let's get back to the episode. Nice. And Troy, what was going on in your head at that point in time? Because it's tough sometimes, right? Sometimes everyone's spouse is not supportive on board, and sometimes that's how it starts, and then it's like, oh, okay, I can see us doing this. So like, what was that conversation like between you guys? Was it always like, hey, yes, we should do this, or was there like some, hey, I don't know, I don't know about this?
Yeah, I think we just kind of we've been in our corporate world for so long, just doing the same thing. I came from Microsoft, just helping customers collect data, build analytics, and then make leaders successful using the data that I'd help them with. So I'd help businesses drive forward and be successful. I think I got to a point where why can't I just build my own business and make my own self successful? So I was like, let's start a business, and I can use that knowledge and background and kind of do our own business and build our own business with success. And then same thing for her family of entrepreneurs. I never had the idea. My family was they're home builders. I mean, so they do that, but it just never really occurred to me until she's like, hey, let's start a business. And then it's scary to start your own business, but through a franchise, it just made it more safe. And then going through your course, it just kind of like, yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. And so who's going to be full-time in the business? Are you both full-time, or tell me about the roles. Like, what are going to be the roles of you guys in the business overall?
I'll be it's called the administrator. So for the licensing of it, you have to have an administrator and an alternate administrator. So I'm the administrator with the nursing background. It's just the natural position, and I'm going to be doing most of the marketing myself, at least in the beginning. We may eventually hire a specific marketer, but right now I will be the one that's out in the field, since I have the nursing background and I can speak the language and I know a lot of facilities. So it's kind of the natural spot for me. We hired the office manager who is managing all of the applications and doing all the background checks and um, doing all that. And so Jack is setting up the interviews. He is bringing him in for training on Fridays. We have a training packet that we put together, and we have Kayla, who just came on actually this week as our scheduler. So she's going to be more of the client support. So she'll be scheduling the caregivers to the clients, the matchmaker, if you will. Troy, he's here in the office. He's still doing his full-time job, and we kind of make the joke he's the $9 IT guy.
They think it's funny, but
that is
yeah. But I mean, like for a lot of people going through the program, I mean, they're pretty much all going to go through the same thing. At some point, they're going to realize, how do we make that leap of faith? And it's scary. I mean, it's real scary. Like, how do I go from the job I'm making now to just jump the leap and then kind of switch to this new field? It's kind of scary, and I might not make money right away. And well, I still got to live a life, got to support stuff like that. So it's kind of luckily for us coming into it both, she was able to just leave her job full time while I keep my job full time, and then make that slow transition as we start making money as a company. Then we can kind of move me back in full time.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so, speaking of your team, like you guys are already, I mean, just based on the roles that you've hired, I know sometimes, and at least for me, it was in the first franchise, it was scary. It's like, oh, I got to start paying these people as we're, especially the training when corporate came out, we had to train 10, 12 people and pay. And so what is, how do you deal with that mentally as you're paying these people, getting ramped up, and you still haven't generated revenue yet? How do you deal with that? Is it talking to people in the franchise, other franchisees, or how do you come to peace with it?
I stare at our pro forma almost every day that you taught us how to do. And I just keep like moving the numbers and adjusting as I learn more, because there's a lot of it that's on there. I'm like, I have no idea how many caregivers we're going to have or how many clients we're going to have in this month and this month. And so, yeah, I've just learned to just kind of guesstimate and adjust. And I just keep watching the bottom line. I'm like, okay, okay, we got it through the first year. So we just got to stick to that. No more surprises.
There will be a lot of surprises. So buckle up. But it's a journey overall, and
One thing that I'm really, really grateful for is the one thing that you taught us about was the ROBS program. And we had used it with Troy's to actually pay for the franchise fee.
So we got 2 territories. So most,
And
yeah.
and then we were going to finance the rest with an SBA loan just because, we just thought that was the way to go. And it literally hit me one day and I said, I've got it. Now I was still working. And I'm like, I'll just quit my job, which I've been wanting to do anyway. And then that's an inactive 401k that I can use. And so we just rolled that over. And so that is our funding the business right now. And we don't have an SBA loan to worry about.
yeah, and that probably sped up the process a little bit, because if you would have done SBA, that would have taken a good bit of more time.
We wouldn't be open yet. Yeah.
It's still, I mean, just the way it was going. I mean, 60 plus days, they get to know everything about you, your whole background, and just the time that was taken, we're just like, wow, we're never going to open what we want to open with. So having us get the territories and then her to do the initial capital funding, we could just go straight opening and not have any debt that I have to kind of pay back on.
So we should be in the black before the end of the year.
Nice. I love it. That's amazing. And yeah, I think, having you do the marketing, it'll be interesting, and I think really good, because people think, sometimes when we work with people, or they think about starting a business, they go, "Oh, I'm not good at sales and marketing and all that stuff." And it's just because they're thinking about it from a perspective of how they perceive it, as opposed to, like, really, sales, number one, is just solving problems, right? And, like, it's like there are people out there that need caregivers, that need help, and it's, if you can really just identify their problem and the pain that they're going through, and be like, "Hey, we have this solution, we can help you." That's really all, like, sales is. And marketing is really just spreading, that message. And so that's it at its simplest form, and it kind of takes out the intimidation level. I do want to unpack something real quick. You guys were talking about the folks that you hired. Tell me about what your hiring process has been like. How have you guys navigated hiring the people that you've hired? What's been your process, and what have you learned already through the folks you've hired?
Yeah, so first we got was with Jack. So for me and her, we met through Meetup, and we've been Meetup for the last 3 years. So we got a lot of friends through that app. And Jack's one of the guys we work with. He's been an office manager most of his life. COVID kind of hit, and then he went on the road and started doing deliveries. But he was ready to jump back in the office life, and we're like, well, we're going to have an office for you. So it made sense to kind of go ahead and bring him in and kind of help us with this partnership. And then we as we talk to different owners, they also have different staff. I mean, of course, you bigger staffs for bigger accounts. So we also brought in Kayla, which made sense also. So we were also looking for a scheduler, and like you always said, like, just hire for things that you don't want to do, that you're not good at. So that's what we did. So we hired for those kind of roles.
And we just used a program that was recommended by Assisting Hands. And it just, because they have a partnership with Assisting Hands, they already have a lot of the job templates. I could edit it as needed and make it more personalized to our location and everything. But we just started posting that, and we got lots of applications for her position. But she immediately stood out. We interviewed a whole bunch of other people, but it was very clear that she was the one.
What stood out about her?
The personality for fourth and um, she on her resume. I mean, she has experience doing everything from the caregiving to the scheduling to
Insurance background.
the marketing. Yeah, she has all the insurance information. You know, she already speaks the language, so she just jumped in and both feet, and she's teaching us stuff.
That's the best. You know, that's one of the things that I've learned over the years, and all the successful business leaders and entrepreneurs where I've gone to seminars or read books, they always say, you know, hire people smarter than you, hire people that know more than you. And I think that's one of the mistakes that a lot of entrepreneurs make is they're always the smartest one in the room. And, you know, they're always the one with the answers. And it's really, yeah, it's tough. And part of it is a little bit of a control thing, I think a fear thing, you know, as well. But that's the best situation when you're learning from your team members, because then that means that's like where you start to really, as you go along, you start to build something where they can eventually run it for you, and you can go on a vacation and be gone and feel, you know, at peace that your business is going to be taken care of.
That's the idea.
And that's a big thing we're instilling too is cross functionality, so everybody knows each other's job. And it just kind of gives us the ability where if I want to take a vacation, someone wants to take a vacation, they don't feel like they're like, oh man, is this company going to be able to run without me? It just gives them the freedom to be able to just take off, take a week off, take a weekend off, take a vacation. So they're not fearing of that, and it's like everything will be fine, no problems.
Hey, so if you want to figure out if you should buy a franchise and learn the fastest and easiest way to figuring out the best franchise to buy and everything you need to know about the process, then you'll want to go get access to our Franchise Buyers Academy. In our Franchise Buyers Academy, you'll get a behind-the-scenes look into specific franchises and exactly how much money they are making. You'll get simple formulas for finding money-making franchises and a blueprint on how to scale them into a franchise empire that can be sold for a lot of money later on. You'll be able to finally answer the question on, should I buy a franchise? Now you can get access at franchiseempire.com/FBA. Now let's get back to the episode. Yeah. Now I know you guys were mentioning earlier that you're just starting to kind of learn the marketing piece, right? And the pay-per-click and all that stuff. So what's that learning curve been like, and what have you learned so far that you didn't know 2 months ago or 90 days ago?
I think the biggest thing is, and you just said it a few minutes ago, that we're here to help you solve a problem. Because I'm not good at selling myself, but I'm not selling myself. I'm not selling anything. I'm here to partner with you to help our elders.
Yeah, that's so key. I love it. So simple.
And as a business, I mean, I came into this thinking this is all digital marketing, just get on social media. But I mean, for this type of business, it's a lot of referrals, a lot of face-to-face referrals, get to build relationships with the different community members in a healthcare area. So it's probably 70-80% of that for getting your clients versus 20% of that's more digital kind of word of mouth type of marketing.
Yeah. And the lifetime value of a client and the amount of time that people could potentially work with you could be a long time, right? Like years, because it's a recurring need.
Yep.
Right.
Very fascinating. I mean, you were talking about you know, how lucrative that the you know, 5-star bath could have been, but this business can be quite lucrative as well. I mean, I've seen the FDD for assisting hands, and there are some owners in the system doing really, really well.
Yeah, I think the TAMP franchise is like 10 million, and we've seen his video at his office. Pretty amazing. But he's been around for over 10 years, so he's really built an empire with that. But that's all. Yeah, stick to it, be persistent, and just grow and kind of fall forward.
Yeah.
When we were doing our due diligence process and calling around and talking to the other franchisees, it was interesting, and I think that was our biggest takeaway, because we called big ones and we called little ones, and the little ones, I mean, their answer was, yeah, we could do more, but we don't want to. Like, okay, you know.
There's some they got their little set of caregivers and they got their own clients and they got long-term clients and that's all they want. And it's just they're happy with just life as is. They don't want to grow real big. That's not their determination. That's what we were confused about. It's like they've been open for 7 years. Why are they still at this rate? It was just kind of amazing. But then when we talked to other ones, 3 years they're in $3 million. I'm like, wow, how'd y'all do that? We want to follow that role. And they just drive the VA side, and it's just a different technique of how they drive, and they've got more drive. They want to grow. So it really depends on like our success is really depend on how much do we want to push and kind of grow.
You know, that is a really fascinating point, actually, because that's like that's something that the FDD, the item 19, there's a story behind it that it doesn't tell. And even for franchisees that may wind up failing or not doing well, it's like, well, how can 100 people be given the same exact business model with the same tools and resources? Some people just absolutely crush it and annihilate it. Some people fail. And then you kind of have like that majority in the middle. And yeah, I guess that's one thing you can't account for is that, yeah, some people are just like, hey, I'm comfortable. If, I replaced my income, and yeah, I don't want to kind of do anything more than this. I think that's a really interesting point.
And the strange thing behind that too is also that it doesn't even matter where you came from. So we've had people they just graduated, got their MBA. You think they would be really good at business, running a business in the PML, and they folded, and then they gave up the office. Where the ones that made $3 million in 3 years, they were school teachers. So it was like, wow, it's all about the drive, I think. And if you want to grow, then you grow.
Yeah, and so I feel like some people are too smart, where they can come up with all the reasons why things won't work, right? Or like, well, I have a better way, or I'll do it my way, or this doesn't seem like the best way. Whereas maybe the teachers were just like, hey, we're not really sure. We'll just follow the system, and we'll just follow the playbook, and yeah, we'll do what you say. And that seems to be kind of the theme of the folks who end up doing the best. I'm curious what, and this was actually, I asked folks on YouTube, I said, hey, I'm going to be, talking to some of our clients. What sort of questions do you guys have for them? And one of the most common ones was funding. As you guys battle with the camera, it's all good, by the way. It's all good. No worries. I've dealt with worse in recording stuff. One of the questions was around funding, which you talked about ROBS already, and that you guys use the ROBS plan instead of going the SBA route. But one of it was around like validation and doing that due diligence and talking to other franchisees. You just alluded to part of it, which was what you learned from some of the franchisees that didn't want to do more, didn't want to produce more. But what were some of the other things that you learned about in your conversations with other franchisees, and what type of questions were you guys asking that were kind of giving you the comfort that you were looking for, or at least an even understanding of the business?
Yeah, I think when we did the validation calls, we forgot because you had a module on doing validation calls, and we kind of fast forwarded, started doing our own thing, and then we're like, oh, let's go back to those modules, because we take the modules in advance and then we do this. So we got to go back to the modules and re kind of cover again. What is the right questions to ask for? Make sure you ask for these questions. The good thing about the 5-star bath solution, it's a different style for each company too, each franchise. So the 5-star bath model would, every Thursday, they would get an owner on and they would just fire away with whatever questions everybody wants to fire away with. And I learned a lot just by other people asking different questions. I'm like, oh, that's a great question. I didn't think about that. So it was a good idea to hear those other questions and other people have different thoughts. Whereas Assisting Hands was more of, here's a list of numbers, give them a call. And then we just go out there and just call each owner. So it's a different style of how that works. That's one of the benefits of having multiple validation sets of different franchisers, and just kind of get a different sense of getting those calls in.
Yeah, for sure. Nancy, what about you from your perspective?
Like kind of like you said in the beginning, I kind of felt like we didn't really know what we were doing, and uh, so we kind of depending on the owners themselves to tell us what we needed to know, and some of them were very forthfront, very friendly. Um, and I think as the more that we did it, the more comfortable we got asking the questions, and you know we were very hesitant to get into the to deep diving the numbers and everything, but it was about their background and where they were at now, and uh, we actually met with one of them face to face because we went out for a cruise and flew out of Florida. So we were like, hey, one of the biggest ones in the country is in Florida. Let's stop by her office on the way. And she was so sweet. I mean, made a point to sit down with us and her little office manager and answer any questions. I mean, just talk to us for about like an hour and a half. It was great.
Wow.
And now that we're open, I was because we have our area rep and she runs her office one way and for training, and I was wondering how Alexis does it in Florida because she's huge. She's got like 6 or 8 territories, and like I know she's not training like they are in Austin, and so I just emailed her, and so she set up a video appointment with us on Thursday with her manager again, and she's just gonna help and give all that she can, and she's amazing. So it's just that franchise support, that family, that assisting hands has the fofo, and it's definitely there.
So you're getting an assisting hand.
Exactly.
Yep, yeah.
Mhm.
Now that we're owners,
That's
we have like an internal communication platform. So other owners can talk to other owners, and we're like, "Hey, what do people use for their phone systems?" And then there are lots of people chime in. What do you like about this? What do you like about Ring Central? What do you like about Void? And just kind of get a sense of like what systems do we start with, and then what did people? And the good thing about assisting hands, they kind of give you the flexibility to choose your own. They don't have like guardrails so tight where you follow the system and that's it. So they're more open with the system, so it's kind of nice. So we can kind of pick and choose how we want to build and succeed with our business. So, but there's a lot of cross owners that can help you along the way, though.
Yeah. I feel like it's one of the biggest benefits of just a franchise community in general, just being able to lean on other people. Do you guys think you would have done this on your own? Would have ever done this on your own, like without a franchise
No
system?
way.
Say no way, no way.
And why is that?
And we see it now. Even I mean, just for a comparison example, as we've gotten into this business and kind of explored the market, because you always want to know who else is in the market with you. And there's a lot of home care agencies in the market. I mean, there's some franchises, but there's a lot of non-franchise. They just like mom and pop got together, like, let's just hire a caregiver. Let's get 2 caregivers, and you just do a slow grow. But there's a lot of things that I can imagine them just trying to figure out on their own. And how do we do marketing on our own? They just have to be on YouTube and discover where with a franchise is like they've got a proven system already. You just follow it and go.
An example of that I just dealt with yesterday. I would have never known this on my own, but the franchise uh, gives us resources and stuff. And one of the resources for getting accredited and known throughout the area is called Helper Bees. And so I filled out this application for Helper Bees, and one of their requirements is that we have a fraud, waste, and abuse policy, and which Assisting Hands does, but it's very generic, you know, and so we're actively working on a very detailed fraud, waste, and abuse policy for our office, and I would have never known that on my own.
Wow, interesting. I know all the nuances, right? There's so many nuances to it overall. Now, you guys at the beginning of our conversation, I'm not sure if we had hit record yet, but you were saying how the franchisor and your contact was kind of saying how you guys are are ahead of schedule, or like one of the best students that they've had in a few years, which doesn't surprise me when you said that, by the way, because I think about how active you guys were in the process and showing up to like the weekly calls that we did and the group calls and going through all the modules and stuff like that. And not everyone, follows or utilizes all of the system, but you guys definitely always stood out. That you were just really, really active and great students. So I'm curious, like, as you mentioned it throughout this conversation, how did the system, the Zero to Profitable franchise system, kind of help you guys navigate through the process, and which kind of aspect of it, right? Because there's the, working with the brokerage team, the modules, the group calls. Which aspect of it did you feel like was most impactful for you throughout the process and kind of gaining the level of comfort that you were looking for?
I think having the modules there and being able to go back and review them again was very helpful. Being able to reach out to Kevin anytime that we had a question, he was all over that. Always willing to help and answer our silly little questions.
That plus, I mean, just jumping on the calls, just hearing different other people going through the same journey that we're going through, and just kind of hearing their struggles, like, oh yeah, we're not as new as everybody else is, but they're succeeding. So I mean, then we can do this. Then I know we can do this. And plus, we always hear the coaching from you. It's always a good drive to keep pushing forward, and just having that positivity for just keep pushing.
Yeah. So what is the next like 30 to 60 days look like for you guys in the business? Do you know, or are you riding the wave?
Yeah, we know exactly. So yeah, so we've got our caregivers. Now we need clients. So marketing is going to be huge right now. So we're going to get Nancy on the road. If she's in the office, then we're not making money. So she's gonna be meeting and greeting, shaking hands as soon as we get our business cards tonight. And then yeah, so marketing is going to be a huge game for us to try to get out there and do that. It's not her favorite skill set, but we're going to drive it, get the relationships built up, then hopefully bring in Kayla to kind of finish up, kind of do a warm handoff with her, meet everyone, and then let her kind of shine with the marketing piece so we can work on the business, not be in the business.
So I'll be out in the field Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and probably half day Fridays. Monday will always be an office day, so we have weekly office meetings set up with the four of us, just to discuss, certain caregivers, certain clients, the goals that we have for the week and for the month and the quarter.
As we journey through this process, so my part of it, I mean, being a tech and everything is like, I do a lot of AI. So what I'm looking at is for automation. So how do we take pieces, if we're constantly doing the same thing over and over, how do we automate those pieces? Now they've got things like browser automation, where if anything in a browser, you can automate just pretty much the mouse click of those entries. So things like background checks, as we found out just the other day, is like a lot of it's free. You just have to go to the website, fill in the information. It's like, do I have to fill in the information? Can an automation do that? So that's something we can automate them. So you do stuff like that. Whereas we were going to go through a provider, a PEO to provider, and they're going to charge us $47 per person. I was like, wow, that's way too much. And so we got it down to 15. So I was like, okay, we could do this, but I'll try to automate as much as I can so we can kind of make things a lot flow and more efficient.
Yeah, fascinating. We actually just had we do an all team meeting every Tuesday with our team, and where everyone on the team is on the meeting, and our director of marketing just did a whole AI training for us, and it was pretty cool. He what he did was he had like some text for kind of like the basic of the presentation, talking about all the different AI tools, and then in the presentation put it into one of the tools that creates presentations, and then that's how he presented it. And it was like, whoa, that was really cool. So it kind of blew our mind, but it's really, really fascinating, just kind of how to utilize AI and make life, life easier. I mean, there's just so many opportunities for that.
And it's not at a point where we're going to replace people, but it's just like a calculator. It just helps your job a lot easier.
Yeah.
That's where things are at. Like right now, like our voice assistant, like if you call our office number, we have an AI that answers the phone. And it has a country accent. It's an older lady. Her name is Sarah. She's like, "Hi, my name's Sarah. I'm from Assisting Hands. How can I help you today?" And you just talk to it like a normal person, and it'll sit there like, "What kind of services?" And it'll tell you what kind of services. It'll be empathetic if your mom is just getting out of the hospital. We want to know more information. Sure, let's get your name and number, so it gets that lead gen, so we can get them in a CRM, and it just puts it all into our CRM and schedules an appointment for us. Or if you want, if they find out it's like, "Oh, I'm not even talking to a human. Let me talk to a human." They'll just fire away right at us. So that's more of our after hours. So if we're like not around Saturday night, Sunday night, they call her early in the morning. If it's not emergency, then she'll pick up and she'll work with them.
Wow. What tech is that? How did you set that up?
There's a few on the market now. Retail. There's SynthFlow, a couple other ones, Bland, and it's just getting better and better.
That's so cool. That's fascinating. So what let's see, to wrap up, what for someone that's out there right now where maybe they are where you were 6 to 9 months ago or 6 to 12 months ago, in this place of, I think there's more. I think I kind of want to own a business, maybe franchising. I don't know. What advice would you give them from your now vantage point?
I think for me, so you got two choices: you franchise or you start your own business. And there's trade-offs. So if a franchise, sure, you're getting up a royalty for the franchisor, so you do lose that part of it. However, starting a business, everybody knows, usually fail the first couple of times of getting your business going. It's a lot harder. You're going to I mean, you're not giving up a royalty, but you're giving up your time. You're giving up your weekends. You're gonna be working hard trying to get this thing working, and you're going to fail a lot, and you have to keep picking yourself up. Whereas a franchisor, I mean, sure, yeah, you got to give up a little bit of money, but there's a lot of cookie cutter systems to kind of follow and kind of be successful in the first try.
Nice.
And so that franchising was definitely our thing. That's what we did.
Nice. What about you, Nancy?
I think if you find yourself the type of person that's like wants to do things, but then finds yourself right at the edge and then you back off, then I think franchising is it, because franchising is going to go jump.
And the good thing about I mean, going through your program was, I mean, everybody knows the food industry, and that's just, everybody just knows franchise is a food industry. I don't want to start a food industry or a restaurant, but as we kind of went through your course, we learned there's 4,600 different types of franchises. It's crazy, and so we're just like, wow, now where do we pick from? Now that's another hard, good question, I guess, to try to solve and answer, to figure out where do we want to go with this.
Yeah. Yeah, I know there's so many. That's the hard part for so many people, is narrowing down and finding kind of like what are the, what are the opportunities overall. But yeah, to your point, Nancy, actually you were saying the whole checklist thing, and just when you were talking about how like franchising will kind of push you over the edge, and it reminded me back when I remember our checklist of getting that first location open and just thinking, oh, this is where I got stuck so many times before when I was trying to start my own thing. And a lot of times I would just get so stuck in like, what do I do next? What do I focus on? I just didn't know. It was like, I can work hard, but I just don't even know, what do I do? And where
Who do I talk to? Who can help me?
yeah, like where do I put
Yes.
my time and energy? And so just having that, oh, okay, I just follow the playbook. Just do this, do this, do this, do this. It made it so much easier. And it's not that it's going to be all sunshine and rainbows, because just business is hard in general, but at least I knew what direction I was going, And so anyways, cool. Well, guys, thanks so much for taking time out of your day. I know it's a crazy week with just getting started and launched and all that stuff. And I know that there's folks out there that will resonate with your story and your journey and your courage to go out there and take a risk and bet on yourself. And there's someone out there that will wind up listening to this and hear themselves through your story and decide, you know what? let's keep this going. So yeah, thanks for making the time.
Yeah, no problem.
Good. Thank you.
Hey, before we go, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Please subscribe here on YouTube if you haven't already. And the biggest thank you that you could ever give me is to share this episode with someone who you think will benefit. That means that we can share this message with more people and hopefully positively inspire them like we have you. So thank you. And until next time, go build your empire.